Welcome. We're about to dive deep into the world of security lighting. And trust me, there's a whole lot more to it than just flipping a switch. We're going to uncover the science behind making spaces truly safe after dark.
But first, let me just ask you this. We all think brighter is better when it comes to security, right? But what if that super powerful floodlight you installed is actually making things worse? What if it's creating dangerous blind spots? Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
Before we can do anything, we've got to learn to speak the language of light. Seriously, words like bright or dim are way too vague. To really get a handle on this, we need to know three key terms.
First up, you've got luminous flux, and we measure that in lumens. This is just the raw, total amount of light a bulb kicks out in every direction. The best way to think about it? It's like the total amount of water pouring out of a garden hose. Just pure volume.
But, all that light doesn't mean much if it's not going where you need it. And that's where illuminance comes in. Measured in lux, this is the amount of light that actually lands on a surface, like your front door. So in our hose analogy, it's not about how much water is coming out, it's about how much water is actually hitting the car you're trying to wash. See the difference?
And finally, there's luminous intensity, which we measure in candela. This one is all about focus. It's the intensity of the light in one specific direction. So if lumens are the total water and illuminance is the water hitting the car, candela is that powerful focused jet of water you get when you put a nozzle on the end of the hose.
Okay, now that we've got the lingo down, let's talk about light's biggest secret. It's this sneaky little rule of physics that messes with almost everyone when they're trying to set up their lighting.
So just imagine this for a second. You've got a light, and it's perfectly illuminating a spot that's, say, 10 feet away. But now you need to light up something that's 20 feet away. You've just doubled the distance.
Now, your gut instinct, your common sense, is probably telling you, okay, double the distance, you get half the light. That seems totally logical, right? Well, physics has a little surprise for us. The real answer? It's 1/4. That's right. You double the distance, and you're left with just 25% of the light you started with. The brightness falls off way, way faster than we intuitively think.
This is the famous inverse square law. And honestly, if you remember one thing today, make it this. The light on a surface drops off with the square of the distance. It means that distance isn't just a problem. It's your biggest enemy in lighting design.
Okay, so we understand how light behaves in the wild. Now, let's start building our toolkit. And that begins with choosing the right bulb, or as the pros say, the right lamp.
When you're looking at a bulb, you're not just looking at brightness. You need to judge it on three key things. First is efficacy, basically how much light you get for the electricity you're paying for. Then there's CRI, the color rendering index. In plain English, how true to life do colors look under that light? And finally, strike and restrike time. How fast does it turn on from a cold start? And, just as important, how quickly does it come back on after a power flicker?
And this chart really lays it all out. You've got your old incandescent bulbs, perfect color, but just terrible on efficiency. High-pressure sodium is efficient, sure, but the color is awful. That's that classic eerie orange glow you see from old streetlights. Metal halide has good white light, but it takes forever to warm up. And then you have LED. It basically wins across the board. Fantastic color, super efficient, and it turns on instantly. There's a reason it's the gold standard now.
And here's a fantastic pro tip. Don't ever confuse high-pressure sodium with its weird cousin, low-pressure sodium. LPS is unbelievably efficient, but its color rendering, its CRI, is literally zero. Everything just turns into shades of yellow and black. It's a classic exam trap, and for CCTV, it's a total disaster. A blue car would just look black. So, you've got the physics down, you've picked out the right tools. Now, how do we actually use them? Let's talk strategy. How to deploy these lights like a professional. There are really four main plays in the playbook. Continuous lighting is what most of us use. You just light up an area and leave it on all night. Glare projection is more aggressive. Think prison yard. You're trying to blind intruders while the guards stay hidden in the dark. Standby lighting is what you probably have at home, motion activated. And controlled lighting is all about precision, shaping a beam of light to cover a very specific asset, like a fence line.
Now, this brings us to a huge real-world problem. You do everything right. You light up your property beautifully, and now your neighbor is furious because your security light is shining right into their bedroom. It's called light trespass, and it's a huge issue. Well, the professional solution is actually pretty simple and elegant. You use what are called full cutoff fixtures. They're designed in such a way that 100% of the light is directed downwards, onto your property, where you need it. No light spills sideways or up into the sky. It keeps your space safe and keeps the peace with your neighbors.
Okay, for our final section, let's really zero in on a modern challenge, lighting for security cameras. Because here's the thing, your camera's electronic eyes are way pickier than your own. What looks perfectly fine to you might be completely useless for getting a good recording.
The absolute most important rule for cameras is uniformity. They hate high contrast. If you got these blazing hot spots right next to pitch black shadows, the camera's sensor just gets overwhelmed. You want smooth, even lighting. The goal is a ratio of no more than 4:1 between your average light level and your darkest spot.
And here is the perfect example of bad lighting for a camera. A light source placed directly overhead casts these deep, dark shadows over a person's face. Security pros have a great name for this: raccoon eyes. The person's actual eyes are lost in shadow, making identification absolutely impossible.
So, how do you fix it? Well, there are a couple of clever ways. You can simply mount your lights a bit lower on the pole, so the light comes in at a flatter, more flattering angle. Or you can actually use the environment to your advantage. A light-colored sidewalk or pavement will bounce light back up, naturally filling in those shadows from below.
And really, that brings us to the big takeaway of this whole thing. Effective security lighting isn't just a brute force game of buying the brightest bulb you can find. It's a science. It's about understanding the physics, choosing the right tool for the job, and designing a system that's controlled, has good color, and works for both human eyes and your cameras. It's about being smart, not just bright.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Tonight, when you're driving or walking around your neighborhood, I want you to actually look at the lights. Now that you know the rules, what do you see? Can you spot the poor color of an old HPS bulb? Can you see a business that's smartly using full cutoff fixtures? Or maybe a security camera that's totally blinded by glare? You now know the secrets of the game.